Hello there, and welcome to Midnight Science. I'm so glad you found your way here, because tonight we're disappearing into the green heart of the world, into jungles where sunlight filters through 100 shades of emerald, where every leaf holds a secret, and where the very air hums with life older than memory. We'll move slowly through the canopy and undergrowth, discovering facts that feel almost like folklore, about creatures who've mastered invisibility, about trees that talk to each other in chemical whispers, about partnerships and survival strategies so elegant they might make you believe in magic. If this gentle wandering brings you peace or wonder, a like and subscribe helps other night wanderers find their way here too. Also, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. It's always wonderful to see how these videos bring people together from all around the world. For now, let the rest of the world fall away. Breathe deep. Let the jungle's timeless rhythm slow your thoughts, and together, let's drift into the shadows and light of Earth's most ancient, vibrant places. Jungles create their own rain. Stand beneath the canopy of a rainforest, and you'll notice something remarkable. It rains here, yes, but not just because clouds drift overhead. The jungle makes its own weather. Each day, billions of leaves release moisture into the air through tiny pores, a process called transpiration. This water vapor rises, cools, and condenses into clouds that hover above the canopy, like a living, breathing system. The rain falls, the trees drink, and the cycle begins again. In the Amazon, nearly half of all rainfall comes not from distant oceans, but from the forest itself. It's a self-sustaining loop so powerful that it influences weather patterns across entire continents. The jungle doesn't just exist in its climate. It creates it, breath by breath, drop by drop. When sections are lost to deforestation, the cycle weakens, the rain lessens, and the forest, in a sense, begins to forget how to feed itself. Some jungle plants never touch the ground high in the canopy. Where sunlight filters through in scattered beams, entire gardens grow in mid-air. These are epiphytes, plants that live on the branches of trees without ever sending roots into the soil below. Orchids, bromeliads, ferns, and mosses cling to bark, drawing moisture from rain and nutrients from decomposing leaves that collect in the crooks of branches. They're not parasites. They don't harm their host trees. They simply found a way to reach the light without competing for space on the crowded forest floor. Some bromeliads hold pools of water in their overlapping leaves, creating tiny ecosystems where frogs lay eggs, insects breed, and salamanders hunt. An entire world suspended in air, never touching Earth, thriving in the space between sky and ground. In the jungle, even emptiness becomes home. The jaguar is a ghost of the forest. In the dappled shadows beneath the canopy, the jaguar moves like liquid darkness. Its spotted coat blends perfectly with the play of light and shadow on the jungle floor, making it nearly invisible even when it's watching you from just meters away. Unlike other big cats, jaguars are comfortable in water. They swim between riverbanks, hunt caimans, and have even been observed diving for fish. Their jaws are the most powerful of any cat relative to their size, strong enough to pierce turtle shells and crush skulls with a single bite. They hunt alone, silently, patiently. Indigenous peoples have long revered the jaguar as a symbol of power and mystery. a creature that walks between worlds, and in the deep jungle where humans rarely venture, the jaguar remains what it has always been, unseen, unstoppable, and utterly at home in the green shadows. Fungi connect the entire jungle underground. Beneath your feet in the jungle, there's a hidden network more vast and intricate than anything visible above. Thread-like fungal filaments called mycelium weave through the soil, connecting tree roots in a sprawling web that scientists have begun calling the Wood Wide Web. Through this network, trees exchange nutrients, send chemical warnings about pests, and even support their young. A mother tree can funnel sugars and minerals to her seedlings through fungal highways. A dying tree may pass its remaining resources to its neighbors. The fungi act as intermediaries, taking a small share of sugars in exchange for minerals they've gathered from decomposing matter. It's not just cooperation. It's a living internet made of cells and chemistry, pulsing quietly beneath every step. The jungle, it turns out, is far more connected than it appears. And in that connection, there's resilience. Poison dart frogs get their toxins from their diet. They're tiny, brilliantly coloured, and among the most toxic creatures on Earth. Poison dart frogs glow in shades of electric blue, fiery orange, and deep crimson. Their vivid hues are warning to anything that might consider eating them. But here's the twist. They're not born poisonous. In captivity, raised on fruit flies and standard diets, these frogs are harmless. In the wild, they eat ants, mites, and other small invertebrates that themselves consume toxic plants. The frogs absorb and concentrate these toxins in their skin, becoming living chemical weapons. Indigenous hunters once used their secretions to tip blowgun darts, a practice that gave the frogs their name. Today, scientists study these toxins for their potential in medicine, from painkillers to heart treatments. Bright, beautiful, and deadly, the poison dart frog is a reminder that in the jungle, color is often the language, and the message is clear: stay back. The canopy is a world most humans never see. When you picture a jungle, you might imagine the forest floor, dense undergrowth, vines, and shadows. But the real heart of the jungle is up above, sometimes 100 feet or more, where the treetops meet and merge into a continuous roof. This is the canopy, and it's home to more species than any other layer of the forest. Monkeys swing through branches. Birds nest in the high boughs. Insects, reptiles, and even some fish live their entire lives without ever descending to the ground. The canopy is so dense in places that rain can take 10 minutes to reach the forest floor. Sunlight is abundant here, and so is competition. Flowers bloom, fruits ripen, and predators lurk in the green maze above. Scientists estimate that up to 90% of jungle species live in the canopy, many still undiscovered. It's a hidden world, vibrant and alive, suspended in the air like a secret. Only the wind and the birds can fully know. Army ants can consume anything in their path. They move like a living tide. Millions of ants flowing across the jungle floor in a coordinated swarm. Army ants don't build permanent nests. Instead, they're nomadic, marching in columns that can stretch for hundreds of feet. When they encounter prey, insects, spiders, even small vertebrates, they overwhelm it with sheer numbers, dismantling and carrying it back to the colony piece by piece. Nothing in their path is safe, and other creatures have learned to flee when the ants approach. Birds follow the swarms, feeding on insects flushed out by the chaos. Some species of antbirds rely entirely on army ant raids for food, never hunting on their own. The ants don't lead, they follow chemical trails left by scouts, adjusting their path in real time based on pheromone signals. No central command, no hierarchy, just a river of life flowing through the jungle. Driven by hunger and instinct, jungle trees can live for over 1,000 years. In the quiet depths of certain rainforests stand trees so old they were saplings when empires rose and fell. Some tropical hardwoods, like certain species of mahogany and Brazil nut trees, can live for more than 1,000 years. They grow slowly, building dense, durable wood that resists rot and insect damage. Their trunks can reach diameters of 10 feet or more, their crowns spreading like umbrellas over the canopy. These ancient trees are more than individuals. They're living monuments, shelters for countless species, and pillars of the ecosystem. When one finally falls, it creates a gap in the canopy, letting light flood the forest floor and triggering a burst of new growth. The death of one giant gives life to hundreds of smaller plants, seedlings, vines, and shrubs racing toward the sun. In this way, even in endings, the jungle renews itself. Some butterflies drink tears. In the damp shadows of the jungle, butterflies sometimes land on the faces of turtles, caimans, and even sleeping birds. They're not seeking nectar, they're drinking tears. These delicate insects need salt and minerals, nutrients scarce in the sugary diet of nectar and fruit. Tears, rich in sodium, provide a vital supplement. The behavior is called lacryphagy, and it's more common than you'd think. The animals rarely seem bothered. The butterflies are light, gentle, their proboscises delicate as threads. Some species also drink from mud puddles, sweat, and even carrion. In the jungle, survival means being resourceful, adaptable, and occasionally a little strange. Beauty and pragmatism intertwine, and even the most ethereal creatures must find salt where they can. Strangler figs start life in the sky. A strangler fig begins not as a seedling in the soil, but as a seed deposited high in the canopy, often in the fork of a branch, left there by a bird or bat. The seed germinates, sending roots downward, thin tendrils that dangle through the air, reaching toward the ground. As the roots grow, they wrap around the host tree, drawing nutrients from the soil below, while the fig's leaves spread above, capturing sunlight. Over decades, the fig's roots thicken, intertwining and fusing into a lattice that slowly encases the host tree. Eventually, the host dies, starved of light and resources, and decays away, leaving the hollow fig standing alone. What remains is a towering structure, often with a hollow core, a tree that started as a parasite and ended as a pillar of the forest. The strangler fig is a paradox, life born from death, strength emerging from slow siege. The jungle floor is surprisingly dark. Walk into a mature rainforest and you'll notice something unexpected. It's dim, even at midday. The dense canopy above blocks up to 95% of sunlight, leaving the forest floor in perpetual twilight. Only scattered beams, called sunflecks, pierce through gaps in the leaves, moving across the ground as the sun shifts overhead. This darkness shapes everything. Plants on the forest floor must be patient, growing slowly, waiting for a tree to fall and create a light gap. Animals have adapted with large eyes, acute hearing, and other senses to navigate the gloom. The jungle floor is not a place of abundance, but of quiet waiting. Life here is slow, deliberate, and finely tuned to making the most of whatever light trickles down. In the shadows, patience is survival. Sloths are built for slowness, hanging upside down from branches, moving at a pace so leisurely it seems almost meditative. The sloth is one of the jungle's most unusual creatures. They're not lazy, they're efficient. Sloths have an extremely slow metabolism, one of the slowest of any mammal, which allows them to survive on a diet of leaves, low in calories and hard to digest. Their fur grows in the opposite direction of most mammals, allowing rainwater to run off even when they're hanging upside down. That fur also hosts an entire ecosystem, algae that gives them a greenish tint for camouflage, along with moths, beetles and fungi. Sloths descend from the trees only about once a week to defecate, a dangerous journey that makes them vulnerable to predators. But even in that risk, there's purpose. Their waste fertilizes the trees they depend on, a quiet exchange between animal and plant. Slow, deliberate and perfectly adapted, the sloth is a lesson in living gently. Some vines can grow over 3,000 feet long in the jungle. Vines known as lianas snake through the canopy like living ropes. They don't grow straight up. Instead, they climb, twist, and drape across multiple trees, using them as support. Some lianas can reach lengths of over 3,000 feet, connecting dozens of trees in a tangled web that spans the forest. These vines compete fiercely for sunlight, often reaching the canopy faster than the trees themselves. They provide highways for animals, monkeys, snakes, and lizards travel along them, moving from tree to tree without touching the ground. When a tree falls, the lianas attached to it can pull down neighboring trees, creating cascading collapses that reshape sections of the forest. Lianas are both connectors and agents of chaos, weaving the jungle together while also tearing it apart. In their tangled embrace, the forest becomes a living net. Tapirs are living fossils shuffling through the undergrowth. With their distinctive snouts and stocky bodies, tapirs look like creatures from another era. And in a sense, they are. Tapirs have changed very little over the past 20 million years. They're related to horses and rhinos, but their lineage is ancient, stretching back to a time when the continents were still drifting into their current positions. They're shy, mostly nocturnal, and excellent swimmers, often retreating into rivers and streams to escape predators. Despite their bulk, they move quietly through dense vegetation, using their flexible snouts to pluck leaves, fruits, and aquatic plants. In the jungle, tapirs play a crucial role as seed dispersers, spreading the seeds of dozens of plant species through their dung. They are gardeners of the forest, ancient and enduring, carrying the past forward with every step. The jungle is louder at dawn and dusk. If you've ever stood in a rainforest at sunrise, you know the sound. It begins as a murmur, a few bird calls, a distant howl. Then it builds, layer upon layer, until the entire jungle seems to sing. This is the dawn chorus, a daily symphony performed by countless species marking territory, attracting mates and announcing their presence. Howler monkeys bellow, their calls carrying for miles. Parrots screech, frogs croak, insects hum. The chorus peaks as light filters through the canopy, then gradually fades as the day settles into its rhythm. At dusk, the process reverses, a different cast of characters taking the stage, nocturnal animals waking, diurnal ones settling. The jungle is never truly silent, but at dawn and dusk, it speaks loudest, a reminder that this place is alive, layered, and endlessly vocal. Some jungle plants can walk. It sounds impossible, but certain palms in Central and South American rainforests appear to move. The walking palm, or Socratea exoryza, grows on stilt-like roots that elevate it above the forest floor. When the tree leans toward light or away from obstacles, it can grow new roots in the direction it needs to go, while older roots on the opposite side die off. Over time, this creates the illusion that the tree has walked several feet from its original position. It's not fast, we're talking inches per year, but in the slow time scale of the forest, it's remarkable. The walking palm doesn't truly walk, of course, but it does reposition itself, adapting its stance to changing conditions. In a jungle where light is scarce and competition is fierce, even trees find ways to move. Leafcutter ants farm their own food. In long, orderly lines, leafcutter ants carry pieces of green leaves back to their underground nests. But they don't eat the leaves. Instead, they use them to cultivate fungus. The ants chew the leaves into a pulp, which they spread in underground gardens. On this mulch, a specific species of fungus grows, and it's this fungus that the ants eat. The relationship is ancient, stretching back millions of years, and it's remarkably sophisticated. The ants tend their gardens carefully, removing contaminants and adjusting conditions to optimize growth. They even carry antibiotics in specialized glands to protect their crops from disease. In return, the fungus provides nutrition and has become so dependent on the ants that it can no longer reproduce without them. It's agriculture, insect style, a partnership so intertwined that neither can survive without the other. The jungle canopy acts as a giant water filter. Rain in the jungle doesn't just fall straight to the ground. It's intercepted by leaves, branches, bark and vines, sometimes taking hours to reach the soil. As it trickles down, it picks up nutrients from decaying plant matter, becomes enriched with minerals, and is filtered through layers of organic material. By the time it reaches the forest floor, the water is cleaner, slower, and more evenly distributed. This process helps prevent erosion, recharges groundwater, and ensures that streams and rivers flowing out of the jungle are clear and steady, even during dry seasons. The canopy doesn't just create rain, it manages it, acting as a massive living sponge. When forests are cleared, this filtration is lost. Rivers become muddy, flooding increases, and the delicate balance that sustains both the jungle and the people who depend on it begins to collapse. Anacondas are the heaviest snakes in the world. In the slow-moving rivers and swamps of the Amazon, a shadow glides just beneath the surface. The green anaconda is the world's heaviest snake, with some individuals weighing over 200 pounds and stretching more than 20 feet long. They're not venomous. They're constrictors, ambush predators that wait submerged, only their eyes and nostrils above water. When prey comes to drink, a deer, capybara, or even a caiman, the anaconda strikes with explosive speed, coiling its massive body around the victim and squeezing until the animal can no longer breathe. Then, slowly, the snake swallows its meal whole, sometimes taking hours to consume prey nearly as large as itself. Afterward, it may not eat again for weeks or even months. In the murky water, the anaconda is patient, powerful, and nearly invisible, a reminder that in the jungle, danger often waits just beneath the surface. Toucans have hollow beaks. With their oversized, brightly colored beaks, toucans are among the most recognizable birds of the rainforest. But despite their impressive appearance, those beaks are surprisingly light. They're made of a honeycomb-like structure of bone covered in keratin, full of air pockets that keep them from weighing the bird down. The beak serves many purposes, reaching fruit on branches too thin to support the bird's weight, regulating body temperature by dispersing heat, and even playing a role in courtship displays. Toucans toss berries to each other, catch them mid-air, and perform elaborate dances, their beaks flashing like colourful banners. They nest in tree cavities and are surprisingly social, often gathering in small flocks. In the canopy, their calls echo through the morning mist, a sound as iconic as the jungle itself. The jungle has layers like a cake. Ecologists often describe the rainforest in layers, each with its own climate, creatures, and character. At the top is the emergent layer, where the tallest trees poke above the canopy, exposed to wind and sun. Below that is the canopy itself, dense and bustling with life. Beneath the canopy lies the understory, a shaded realm of younger trees, shrubs, and saplings waiting for their chance at light. And at the bottom is the forest floor, dark, damp, and covered in decomposing leaves. Each layer supports different species. Birds and insects dominate the canopy. Mammals and reptiles prowl the understory. Fungi, insects, and decomposers rule the floor. These layers are interconnected, nutrients cycling up and down, seeds falling, water dripping, and life moving between levels in an endless vertical dance. The jungle isn't flat, it's dimensional, and understanding its layers means seeing it not as a single place, but as many worlds stacked atop one another. Capybaras are the world's largest rodents. Lounging by riverbanks or wading in shallow water, capybaras are gentle giants of the rodent world. They can weigh up to 140 pounds, roughly the size of a large dog, and they're highly social, living in groups of 10 to 20 individuals. Capybaras are semi-aquatic, with webbed feet that make them strong swimmers. They spend much of their day in or near water, escaping the heat and avoiding predators. Despite their size, they're herbivores, grazing on grasses and aquatic plants. They're also surprisingly tolerant, often seen with birds perched on their backs, picking off insects. In the wild, they're prey for jaguars, caimans, and anacondas. But in human areas, they've become surprisingly comfortable, sometimes wandering into towns and parks. Calm, social, and built for water, the capybara is a peaceful presence in the jungle's rivers and wetlands. Some jungle flowers bloom only once in their lifetime. Hidden in the understory, certain plants wait years, sometimes decades to bloom. They grow slowly, storing energy, building strength, and then, in a single dramatic burst, they flower. Some species die immediately after, their entire life culminating in one reproductive event. These monocarpic plants invest everything in that moment, producing massive amounts of seeds to ensure the next generation. The Titan arum, or corpse flower, is one example, blooming rarely and releasing a powerful stench to attract pollinators. When it does bloom, people travel from around the world to witness it, a fleeting event that may not happen again for years. In the jungle, where competition is fierce and resources limited, patience isn't just a virtue, it's a strategy. One flower, one chance, one legacy left behind. Spider monkeys are acrobats of the canopy high above the forest floor. Spider monkeys move with fluid grace, swinging from branch to branch using their long limbs and prehensile tails. Their tails are so strong and dexterous they function almost like a fifth hand, gripping branches, supporting their weight, and even picking up food. Spider monkeys rarely descend to the ground, spending their entire lives in the trees. They live in social groups, communicating with calls, gestures, and facial expressions. They're seed dispersers, feeding on fruit and spreading seeds across wide areas as they travel. But their populations are declining, threatened by habitat loss and hunting. In some regions, the forests are growing quieter, the acrobats fewer, the canopy a little less alive. Yet where they remain, they're a reminder of the jungle's vitality, movement, connection, and life lived entirely in the air. The jungle soil is surprisingly poor. It seems impossible. The jungle is one of the most productive ecosystems on Earth, bursting with life, and yet the soil beneath it is often thin, acidic, and low in nutrients. How can this be? The answer lies in rapid nutrient cycling. In the jungle, decomposition happens fast. Leaves, branches, and dead animals are broken down by fungi, bacteria, and insects almost as soon as they fall. Nutrients are released and immediately taken up by plant roots, cycling back into the living forest before they have a chance to accumulate in the soil. The jungle's fertility isn't stored in the ground. It's stored in the biomass, in the living trees and plants. When the forest is cleared, that nutrient reservoir is lost, and the land quickly becomes barren. The soil, exposed to sun and rain, erodes and hardens. What seemed like paradise becomes wasteland. The jungle's richness is fragile, held together by life itself. Electric eels aren't actually eels. Lurking in murky rivers and swamps, the electric eel is one of the jungle's most shocking predators. Despite the name, it's not an eel at all, but a type of knife fish, more closely related to catfish than true eels. What makes it extraordinary is its ability to generate electric shocks of up to 600 volts, strong enough to stun prey or deter predators. The electric eel produces electricity using specialized cells called electrocytes, stacked like batteries along its body. It can release low-voltage pulses for navigation and hunting in dark water, and high-voltage bursts for defense. The eel is mostly blind, relying instead on its electrical sense to map its surroundings. In the tangled roots and muddy waters of the Amazon, where visibility is near zero, electricity becomes vision, and the electric eel glides through the dark, unseen and dangerous. The jungle breathes out oxygen we all depend on. It's often said that the Amazon is the lungs of the earth, and while that's a bit of a simplification, there's truth in it. The jungle produces vast amounts of oxygen through photosynthesis, though much of it is consumed by the forest itself through respiration and decomposition. What the jungle does more importantly is store carbon, locking it away in trees, soil, and vegetation, helping regulate the planet's climate. When forests are burned or cleared, that carbon is released, contributing to climate change. The jungle also influences weather patterns far beyond its borders, pumping moisture into the atmosphere that eventually falls as rain thousands of miles away. It's a planetary life support system, quietly working every day, every hour, every breath. What happens in the jungle doesn't stay there. It ripples outward, touching every corner of the globe. Piranhas are not as dangerous as you think. They have a fearsome reputation, teeth like razors, feeding frenzies, rivers boiling with blood, But the truth about piranhas is less dramatic and more interesting. Most species are omnivores, feeding on fruits, seeds, and plants as much as meat. Attacks on humans are extremely rare and usually happen only when the fish are cornered, starving, or protecting their nests. Piranhas are social fish, often swimming in schools for protection rather than hunting. They're scavengers as much as predators, cleaning up the river by consuming dead or dying animals. In the ecosystem, they play an important role, keeping populations in check and recycling nutrients. Yes, they have sharp teeth and powerful jaws, adaptations for survival in a competitive environment. But they're not monsters. They're fish, doing what fish do, surviving in a world where everything is both predator and prey. Some jungle trees release chemicals when attacked. When an insect begins chewing on a leaf, the tree doesn't suffer in silence. It fights back. Many jungle plants release volatile organic compounds into the air when they're damaged, chemical signals that can travel through the forest. Neighboring plants detect these signals and respond by boosting their own defenses, producing bitter compounds or toxins that make them less appetizing. Some trees go further, releasing chemicals that attract predators of the insects attacking them. It's a kind of biological distress call. I'm being eaten, send help. Parasitic wasps, predatory beetles, and other insects arrive, drawn by the scent, and begin hunting the herbivores. The tree doesn't just defend itself, it recruits an army. In the jungle, even plants wage war using chemistry, timing, and alliances forged in scent. Ocelots are stealthy hunters of the night, smaller than jaguars but no less skilled. Ocelots are nocturnal cats that prowl the jungle floor and lower branches. Their spotted coats blend perfectly with dappled shadows, making them nearly invisible as they hunt. Ocelots are solitary, territorial, and highly adaptable, feeding on rodents, birds, reptiles, and even fish. They have excellent night vision and acute hearing, essential for hunting in the darkness. Despite their elusive nature, ocelots once faced heavy hunting pressure for their fur, and populations declined sharply. Today, they're protected in many areas, though habitat loss remains a threat. In the deep jungle, where humans rarely venture, the ocelot remains a shadow among shadows, a whisper in the night, hunting with patience and precision. The jungle is home to over half of Earth's species. Though rainforests cover less than 6% of the planet's land surface, they harbor more than half of all known terrestrial species. Millions of insects, thousands of birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and plants call the jungle home. And those are just the ones we've identified. Scientists estimate that millions more species remain undiscovered, hidden in the canopy, buried in the soil, or lurking in remote rivers. This incredible biodiversity is the result of millions of years of evolution in a stable, warm, wet environment, where niches are abundant and competition drives specialization. Every tree, every leaf, every drop of water teems with life. The jungle is not just a place, it's a library of genetic information, a living archive of evolution's experiments. Protecting it means protecting possibilities we haven't even imagined yet. Some frogs carry their tadpoles on their backs. In the wet, tangled world of the jungle floor, where puddles form and dry quickly, some poisoned dart frogs have evolved a remarkable parenting strategy. After the eggs hatch, the mother or father frog carries the tadpoles on their back, one by one, up into the canopy to deposit them in water-filled bromeliads. tiny pools held in the cups of leaves. Each tadpole gets its own private pool, safe from predators and competition. The mother returns regularly to lay unfertilized eggs for the tadpoles to eat, a dedicated act of care. This behavior requires memory, navigation, and effort, crossing the forest vertically, sometimes dozens of feet, repeatedly. It's a reminder that parental care isn't unique to mammals. Even a tiny frog, no bigger than your thumb, will climb trees and risk danger to give its young a chance at life. Bromeliads are entire ecosystems in miniature, scattered throughout the canopy. Bromeliads collect rainwater in their rosette of leaves, creating small pools that become worlds unto themselves. These tiny reservoirs host an astonishing variety of life: mosquito larvae, dragonfly nymphs, tree frogs, salamanders, and even small crabs. Some species spend their entire lives in a single bromeliad, never leaving their miniature pond. The plant benefits too. Decomposing insects and animal waste provide nutrients that the bromeliad absorbs through its leaves. It's a closed loop, a self-contained ecosystem suspended in the air. In a single tree, there might be dozens of bromeliads, each one a tiny aquarium, a micro-jungle within the jungle. Biodiversity isn't just about the number of species, it's about the layers, the scales, the worlds within worlds. The morpho butterfly shimmers with no pigment, fluttering through sunlit gaps in the canopy. The morpho butterfly seems to glow, its wings a brilliant iridescent blue that shifts and shimmers as it moves. But that blue isn't created by pigment. It's structural color, produced by microscopic scales on the wings that reflect and refract light. The arrangement of these scales creates interference patterns that amplify blue wavelengths and cancel out others. The effect is so striking that morpho butterflies can be seen from aircraft flying above the jungle. The color serves multiple purposes: attracting mates, startling predators, and possibly even communicating with other butterflies. When the wings close, the underside is brown and mottled, camouflage against bark and leaves. Open, they blaze with light. Closed, they vanish. It's a magic trick played with physics, a reminder that nature's beauty often lies in its hidden structures. Caimans are crocodiles' smaller cousins. In the rivers, lakes, and flooded forests of the jungle, caimans lie in wait, their eyes and nostrils just above the waterline. They're related to alligators and crocodiles, but tend to be smaller, though some species can still reach over 10 feet in length. Caimans are ambush predators, feeding on fish, birds, and mammals that come to the water's edge. Despite their fearsome reputation, they're an important part of the ecosystem, keeping fish populations in check and creating habitats for other species. Their nests, mounds of vegetation built along riverbanks, provide warmth for incubating eggs, and after the eggs hatch, the mothers are surprisingly gentle, carrying their young in their mouths to protect them. In the jungle, even apex predators show tenderness. Even the most armored creatures care for their young. The jungle canopy has its own rivers. Walk through the jungle during a rainstorm, and you might notice something strange. Water doesn't just fall straight down. It runs along branches, collects in tree hollows, flows down vines, and cascades from leaf to leaf. The canopy creates its own rivers, ephemeral streams that exist only during and after rain, channeling water through the treetops before it ever reaches the ground. These canopy rivers carry nutrients, seeds, and even small animals. They shape how water moves through the ecosystem. slowing it, filtering it, distributing it more evenly. Some animals, like tree frogs and insects, depend on these temporary flows. In the three-dimensional jungle, even water follows unexpected paths, carving invisible courses through leaves and bark, a reminder that in the rainforest, every surface, every space, every moment is alive with movement. Harpy eagles are apex predators of the sky, with talons the size of grizzly bear claws and a wingspan reaching over 6 feet. The harpy eagle is one of the most powerful raptors in the world. It hunts in the canopy, plucking monkeys, sloths, and large birds from the branches with terrifying precision. Harpy eagles are built for maneuvering through dense forest, with shorter, broader wings than most eagles, allowing them to weave between trees at high speed. They nest in the tallest emergent trees, where they raise a single chick every 2 to 3 years. The parents are devoted, bringing food and guarding the nest fiercely, but their slow reproductive rate makes them vulnerable, and habitat loss has pushed them into decline in many areas. Where they still soar, they remind us of what the jungle once was, a place where giants ruled the air, silent, powerful, and awe-inspiring. Some ants explode to defend their colony. In the jungles of Southeast Asia, a species of carpenter ant has evolved one of the most extreme defense mechanisms in nature. When the colony is threatened, certain worker ants grip the attacker and contract their abdominal muscles so forcefully that their bodies rupture, spraying a sticky, toxic substance that immobilizes the enemy. The ant dies in the process, but the colony survives. These exploding ants are a form of altruistic suicide, where individual sacrifice ensures the survival of the whole. The ants don't hesitate. When danger comes, they respond with their bodies, their chemistry, their lives. It's a strategy born from millions of years of evolution, where the colony, not the individual, is what matters. In the jungle, survival takes many forms, and sometimes the greatest act of defense is also an act of surrender. The jungle grows back faster than you'd think clear a patch of rainforest, and within months, life returns. First come the pioneers, fast-growing plants, grasses, shrubs, and vines that thrive in sunlight. Then come young trees, shooting up rapidly in the newly available space. Within a few years, the area can look green again. Though it's not the same as the original forest, the diversity is lower, the structure simpler, the giants missing. Full recovery, if it happens at all, can take centuries, but the jungle is resilient. Given time and protection from further disturbance, it can rebuild itself piece by piece, species by species. Seeds lie dormant in the soil, waiting. Birds and animals bring new seeds from surrounding forest. Slowly, the layers return. The understory thickens. The canopy closes. The jungle remembers how to be a jungle. It's a process of patience, but also of hope. Even when wounded, the forest reaches back toward what it was. Glass frogs have transparent skin, perched on leaves overhanging streams. Glass frogs are among the jungle's most delicate and unusual creatures. Their undersides are translucent, so clear you can see their internal organs, their beating hearts, their bones. This transparency may serve as camouflage, making the frog harder to spot against a leaf when viewed from below, especially when sunlight filters through. Glass frogs are tiny, usually no bigger than a coin, and they live their entire lives in trees near water. Males call to attract females, and after mating, the female lays eggs on the underside of leaves. The male guards them, keeping them moist and protected until they hatch and drop into the stream below. They're fragile, beautiful, and remarkably adapted to life in the canopy's edge. In their transparency, there's a kind of honesty, a creature with nothing to hide, literally. Jungle rivers can be black, white, or clear. Not all jungle rivers look the same. Some run black, stained dark by tannins from decomposing leaves, like tea steeping in water. These blackwater rivers are acidic, low in nutrients, and remarkably clear, though tinted brown. Others run white, milky with sediment carried from the Andes or other mountains, rich in minerals and nutrients. And some are clear water rivers, transparent and blue-green, originating from ancient rock formations where erosion is minimal. Each type supports different communities of fish, plants, and animals. Where rivers of different colors meet, they sometimes flow side by side for miles without mixing, creating visible boundaries in the water. These rivers don't just flow through the jungle, they shape it, carving channels, depositing nutrients, connecting distant regions. The jungle is written in water, and every river tells a different story. Basilisk lizards can run on water. When threatened, the basilisk lizard doesn't dive or hide. It runs straight across the surface of a pond or stream, its feet slapping the water so fast they create pockets of air that keep it from sinking. It can cover several meters before momentum fades and it has to swim. This ability, sometimes called Jesus lizard behavior, is possible because of the lizard's lightweight body, large hind feet, and incredible speed. It's not magic, just physics and evolution meeting in a moment of desperate grace. Basilisks live near water for this very reason, always ready to bolt. They're fast on land too, but on water they become something else entirely. A blur of green and motion, a creature that rewrites the rules. In the jungle, survival sometimes means doing the impossible, even if only for a few seconds. The jungle is a pharmacy. For thousands of years, indigenous peoples have used jungle plants as medicine, treating everything from infections to pain, fevers to poisons. Modern science has validated many of these remedies. Quinine, derived from the bark of the cinchona tree, treats malaria. The rosy periwinkle provides compounds used in cancer treatments. Curare, a poison used on blowgun darts, became the basis for muscle relaxants used in surgery. Researchers estimate that only a fraction of the jungle's plants have been studied for medicinal properties. Thousands more may hold cures for diseases we haven't yet solved. But as the forest disappears, so do these possibilities. Every lost species is a closed door, a question we'll never get to ask. The jungle isn't just beautiful or ecologically important. It's a living library of chemistry, waiting to teach us if we're willing to listen and learn. Leaf litter is alive with hidden creatures. Kneel down on the jungle floor and look closely at the carpet of dead leaves. What seems still is actually swarming with life. Ants, beetles, millipedes, spiders, and countless other invertebrates scurry through the decomposing matter. They're joined by fungi, bacteria, and microscopic organisms, all working to break down organic material and return nutrients to the soil. This hidden world is essential. Without decomposers, dead leaves and fallen trees would pile up indefinitely, locking away nutrients and choking the forest. Instead, within weeks or months, leaves crumble, branches soften, and everything is recycled. The jungle doesn't waste. Every death feeds life. Every ending is a beginning. In the leaf litter, the cycle is constant, invisible, and absolutely vital. The jungle's heartbeat isn't in the canopy. It's here, in the quiet decay beneath your feet. Howler monkeys can be heard from 3 miles away. Long before you see them, you hear them. The howler monkey's call is one of the loudest sounds produced by any land animal, a deep, resonant roar that echoes through the jungle like distant thunder. They call at dawn and dusk, announcing their territory and location to rival groups. The sound carries for up to 3 miles, vibrating through the canopy and into the forest below. Howlers achieve this volume with a specialized voice box and an enlarged hyoid bone that amplifies sound. Despite their vocal power, they're relatively calm and slow-moving, spending most of their time resting and eating leaves. Their calls are not aggression, but communication, a way to avoid conflict by making their presence known. In the jungle's dense vegetation, where seeing far is impossible, sound becomes sight, and the howler monkey's voice is a map, a boundary, a presence felt long before it's seen. Some jungle plants mimic other plants to survive. In the struggle for survival, some plants have evolved a remarkable trick: mimicry. A young vine, for instance, may grow leaves that resemble those of the tree it's climbing, blending in to avoid being eaten by herbivores that recognize and target specific plants. Some orchids mimic the appearance and scent of female insects, tricking males into attempting to mate with them and inadvertently pollinating the flower in the process. Other plants mimic rocks or dead leaves, reducing their visibility to grazing animals. It's deception on a botanical scale, proof that plants, though rooted in place, are far from passive. They respond, adapt, and occasionally lie. In the jungle, where competition is fierce and predators are everywhere, even a leaf can be a disguise. Even stillness can hide motion. And in that quiet trickery, survival is written. Termites build structures taller than humans, in clearings and along the forest edge. Massive mounds rise from the ground, towers of mud and saliva built by millions of tiny termites. Some mounds reach heights of over 20 feet, taller than an adult human, and can house millions of individuals. Inside, the structure is honeycombed with chambers, tunnels, and nurseries, all maintained at a constant temperature and humidity through ingenious ventilation systems. The termites cultivate fungus gardens deep within, farming their food just as leafcutter ants do. They're blind, soft-bodied, and individually vulnerable, but together they build cathedrals. These mounds can last for decades, even centuries, persisting long after the colony that built them has moved on. They become homes for snakes, lizards, and other creatures. In the jungle, architecture isn't limited to humans. Even the smallest builders leave monuments behind. The jungle inspired countless human innovations. Look closely at the jungle and you'll find solutions to problems humans have struggled with for centuries. Velcro was inspired by the hooked seeds that cling to animal fur. Sharkskin textured swimsuits, modeled after patterns found on leaves that repel water and resist bacteria, have broken swimming records. Termite mounds inspired passive cooling systems in modern buildings. Spider silk is being studied for use in lightweight, ultra-strong materials. The jungle is a research and development lab that's been running for millions of years, testing designs, discarding failures, and refining successes. Biomimicry, the practice of learning from nature, has given us adhesives, aerodynamics, and medical devices. The jungle doesn't just sustain life, it teaches us how to build, adapt, and thrive. Every creature, every plant, every structure holds a lesson. We just have to be humble enough to observe and learn. Parrots mate for life among the branches. Parrots move in pairs, their bright feathers flashing through the green. Most parrot species are monogamous, choosing a mate and staying together for life. They preen each other, share food, and communicate with soft calls and gestures. When one dies, the other may grieve, sometimes refusing to take another mate. This lifelong bond isn't just romantic, it's practical. Raising chicks requires cooperation, and experienced pairs are more successful. But there's something undeniably moving about seeing two parrots side by side, year after year, their partnership enduring through seasons, storms, and the constant challenges of jungle life. In a world often portrayed as ruthless and competitive, the parrot reminds us that cooperation, loyalty, and companionship are also part of nature's design. The jungle can heal itself, but it needs time. The resilience of the jungle is remarkable, but it's not limitless. Slash and burn agriculture, logging, and development can strip away forest faster than it can recover. Soil erodes, species disappear. The complex web of relationships unravels. But where the jungle is given space and protection, where seeds can still arrive and animals can still move, recovery begins. It starts with grasses and shrubs. Then come pioneer trees, fast-growing and hardy. Slowly, the canopy closes. Insects return, birds follow. Predators come back. The understory fills in. It's not the same forest, not yet, but it's moving in that direction. Full recovery may take 100 years, 200, more. But the jungle remembers how to grow. It carries the blueprint in its seeds, its soil, its surviving fragments. Time is what it needs most. Time and a chance to begin again. Some jungle birds use tools to hunt. In the dappled light of the understory, the woodpecker finch of tropical forests does something remarkable. It uses twigs and cactus spines as tools, holding them in its beak to probe bark and extract insects from crevices its beak alone can't reach. Other jungle birds have learned similar tricks. Some drop nuts from heights to crack them open. Others use leaves to scoop water. Tool use was once thought to be uniquely human, then uniquely primate. But the jungle keeps revealing that intelligence takes many forms. A bird with a brain the size of a walnut can innovate, problem solve, and pass knowledge to its young. In the forest, survival rewards cleverness, and evolution has scattered wisdom across feathers, fur, and scales alike. The jungle floor is covered in a living carpet. What looks like bare soil beneath the trees is actually layered with life you can't always see. Mycorrhizal fungi weave through every inch, connecting plant roots. Springtails, tiny wingless insects, bounce through the leaf litter by the millions. Earthworms tunnel and aerate. Nematodes, microscopic roundworms, swarm in densities that can reach millions per square meter. This living carpet does the essential work of decomposition, transforming death into nutrients that fuel the next generation. Step carefully. With every footfall, you're walking over civilizations, ecosystems within ecosystems, a world that exists largely outside human perception. The jungle doesn't just live above ground, it pulses beneath it, in darkness, in silence, in countless tiny lives working ceaselessly. Macaws eat clay to neutralize toxins along certain riverbanks in the Amazon, macaws gather by the hundreds each morning, landing on exposed clay cliffs to eat the earth. It seems strange. Why would these brilliant birds eat mud? The answer lies in their diet. Macaws feed on seeds and unripe fruits that contain toxic compounds meant to deter predators. The clay acts as a detoxifier, binding to the toxins and allowing them to pass harmlessly through the bird's digestive systems. These clay licks become social gathering spots where macaws meet, vocalize, and engage in the daily ritual of communal healing. The cliffs are stained with their bright colors, echoing with their calls. It's a reminder that even the most vibrant creatures must constantly negotiate with poison, finding ways to turn danger into nourishment. Some jungle snakes can glide between trees, high in the canopy. A snake launches itself from a branch, flattens its body, and glides through the air. The paradise tree snake of Southeast Asian jungles can travel up to 100 feet horizontally, undulating its body to maintain stability and direction. It's not true flight, but it's close enough. The snake becomes a living ribbon, sailing between treetops, hunting lizards and frogs in the aerial maze. This ability allows it to move through the canopy without descending to the dangerous forest floor. Evolution has turned a creature with no limbs into a glider, proof that limitations can become innovations. In the jungle, where the ground is distant and descent is perilous, even snakes have learned to fly. Bamboo can grow 3 feet in a single day. In certain jungle regions, bamboo forests create their own dense, rustling worlds. Bamboo is technically a grass, but it grows to heights rivaling trees, and it does so with astonishing speed. Some species can grow over 3 feet in 24 hours, one of the fastest growth rates of any plant on Earth. You can almost watch it rise, segments lengthening, leaves unfurling. This rapid growth makes bamboo an incredibly renewable resource, used for everything from construction to food. In the jungle, bamboo provides habitat for countless species, and when it flowers, a rare event that may happen only once every several decades, entire forests bloom simultaneously, producing massive seed crops that trigger population booms in rats, birds, and other animals. Then the bamboo dies back, and the cycle begins again. Jaguars are skilled tree climbers. While they're often seen prowling the forest floor or swimming in rivers, jaguars are also surprisingly adept in trees. They climb to rest on branches, to hunt monkeys and sloths, and sometimes simply to observe their territory from above. Their powerful shoulders and retractable claws give them the grip and strength needed to ascend even smooth-barked trees. Cubs learn to climb young, playing in lower branches under their mother's watchful eye. A jaguar stretched along a high limb, dappled with sunlight and shadow, is nearly invisible. From this vantage, the apex predator becomes watcher rather than hunter, patient and still, a living part of the forest's architecture. The jungle's greatest predator is as much at home in the air as on the ground. Some plants close their leaves at night. As dusk settles over the jungle, certain plants begin to move. Mimosas, acacias, and other species fold their leaves closed, a behavior called nyctinasty. The movement is controlled by changes in water pressure within cells at the base of each leaf. By morning, the leaves open again, ready to photosynthesize. Why do they do this? Theories vary. It may reduce water loss, protect delicate leaf surfaces from nighttime cold, or make the plant less visible to herbivores that feed at night. Whatever the reason, the effect is mesmerizing. A jungle that breathes in and out, opening to the sun and closing to the dark. Even plants have their own circadian rhythms, their own sense of time passing. The jungle is ancient beyond measure. Some rainforests have existed for over 100 million years, making them among the oldest continuous ecosystems on Earth. They weathered the extinction that killed the dinosaurs. They adapted as continents drifted and climates shifted. In that vast span of time, species evolved, diversified, and formed relationships so intricate they can take decades to understand. The jungle is a living archive, a record written in DNA, behavior, and adaptation. Walking through it is like walking through deep time, surrounded by forms and patterns that predate human existence by eons. We are visitors in a place far older than our species, standing in the presence of something patient, enduring, and profoundly indifferent to our brief moment on the planet. Army ant queens are carried by their workers. In the nomadic life of an army ant colony, the queen is too large and valuable to walk, so the workers carry her, hundreds of ants forming a living carpet beneath her as the colony migrates. She can lay up to several million eggs in her lifetime, and her survival ensures the colony's continuation. When the colony moves, which happens regularly as they exhaust food sources, the queen goes with them, borne along in the center of the swarm. She never has to touch the ground. She is protected, fed, and transported by the thousands of sterile daughters who exist solely to serve the collective. It's a society built on absolute cooperation, where individuality dissolves into shared purpose. Orchids are masters of deception. Orchids have evolved some of the most elaborate pollination strategies in the plant kingdom. Some mimic the appearance and scent of female insects so convincingly that males attempt to mate with them, transferring pollen in the process. Others offer no nectar, but look like flowers that do, tricking pollinators into visiting repeatedly before they learn the deception. Some orchids release chemicals that mimic alarm pheromones, causing bees to panic and collide with the flower, picking up pollen as they flee. These aren't accidents. They're evolutionary strategies honed over millions of years. In the jungle's competitive landscape, even beauty can be a lie, and every flower may hide a trap. Survival doesn't always reward honesty. The jungle smells different at night. As darkness falls, the jungle's scent changes. The sharp green smell of sun-warmed leaves fades, replaced by cooler, earthier notes: damp soil, rotting wood, night-blooming flowers. Some plants release their strongest fragrances after dark, attracting moths and bats rather than day-flying pollinators. The air becomes heavier, more humid, carrying the musk of nocturnal animals and the faint sweetness of decay. Your sense of smell sharpens when vision dims, and in the dark jungle, scent becomes a map. Each fragrance marks territory, signals danger, or promises food. The jungle doesn't sleep. It shifts, becomes something else. And those who walk through it at night learn to read the world through their nose. Peccaries travel in protective groups. Through the understory, herds of peccaries move like waves, grunting and snuffling as they root through leaf litter for fallen fruits, roots, and invertebrates. These pig-like mammals live in groups that can number over 100 individuals. There's safety in numbers. Predators rarely attack a full herd, and the collective awareness means danger is spotted quickly. Peccaries are surprisingly fierce when threatened. With sharp tusks and surprising speed, they've been known to stand their ground even against jaguars. Within the herd, bonds are strong. They communicate through vocalizations, scent marking, and touch. In the jungle, where predators lurk and food is scattered, traveling together isn't just social, it's survival. The jungle changes the rain it receives. When rain falls on the jungle, it's transformed. Some is intercepted by leaves and evaporates back into the atmosphere without ever reaching the ground. Some trickles down branches and trunks, picking up nutrients along the way. Some is absorbed by epiphytes and stored in tiny reservoirs. By the time water finally reaches the soil, it may have been delayed by hours, enriched with minerals, and distributed far more evenly than if it had fallen on bare ground. This process prevents flash floods, maintains stream flow during dry periods, and ensures that nutrients aren't simply washed away. The jungle doesn't just receive water, it manages it like a living watershed. Remove the trees, and this management disappears. The rain falls hard and fast, eroding soil, flooding rivers, and leaving behind drought where once there was plenty. Some caterpillars look like bird droppings. In the constant game of predator and prey, some jungle caterpillars have evolved an unusual disguise. They look exactly like bird droppings. Mottled white and brown, irregularly shaped, and often positioned in the center of a leaf where droppings would naturally land. These caterpillars are ignored by birds and other predators who have no interest in eating waste. It's not glamorous, but it works. The caterpillar feeds safely, growing until it's ready to pupate and transform into a butterfly or moth. Then the disguise is shed, and beauty emerges from what once pretended to be refuse. In the jungle, survival doesn't care about dignity. It cares about living long enough to reproduce by any means necessary. Strangler figs can live for centuries after their host dies. When the original tree inside a strangler fig finally decays completely, what remains is a hollow cylinder of fig roots and trunk, often still thriving. Some of these hollow figs become landmarks in the forest, their interiors large enough for people to stand inside. Animals shelter within them. Water collects in their cavities. The fig, which began as a parasite, becomes a provider. It offers fruit to birds and mammals, shade to understory plants, and structure to countless other species. What started as death becomes life again, transformed. The jungle is full of such transformations, where endings aren't final and roles reverse. Predator becomes prey. Parasite becomes pillar. Death becomes foundation. The sound of rain is muted beneath the canopy. Stand in an open field during a rainstorm, and the sound is sharp, immediate, drops striking ground with force. But beneath the jungle canopy, rain sounds different, softer, more diffuse. The leaves above absorb the impact, turning each drop into a gentler patter. The rain seems to whisper rather than shout, filtering down in stages, from canopy to understory to floor. This acoustic dampening creates a sense of shelter even when you're soaked through. The jungle feels protective, as if it's softening the world's harsher edges. And in a way, it is. The canopy is a buffer, a mediator between sky and earth, transforming raw weather into something the forest can absorb and use. Beetles are the most diverse group in the jungle. If you were to collect every species in a patch of rainforest, beetles would dominate the count. They come in every size, shape, and color imaginable. scarabs, weevils, longhorns, jewel beetles gleaming like polished metal. They bore through wood, pollinate flowers, prey on other insects, and break down waste. Their diversity is staggering, a testament to evolutionary success. The biologist J.B.S. Haldane, when asked what could be inferred about the Creator from the study of creation, reportedly replied, "An inordinate fondness for beetles. In the jungle, that fondness is on full display. Millions of species, each adapted to its own niche, each a small solution to the problem of survival. Beetles are proof that nature experiments endlessly, and in the jungle, the experiments succeed. Some jungle mammals are nocturnal to avoid heat. The jungle can be sweltering during the day, and many mammals have adapted by becoming nocturnal. Night monkeys, kinkajous, and various rodents sleep through the heat and emerge when temperatures drop. Darkness also brings safety. Many predators hunt by sight, and the night offers cover. But night also means competition with bats, owls, and other nocturnal specialists. The jungle never rests. As diurnal creatures settle, nocturnal ones awaken, and the forest shifts crews. The canopy that bustled with parrots and howler monkeys by day now belongs to flying squirrels and night birds. The jungle operates in shifts, every hour claimed by some creature's waking life. Leafcutter ants create highways through the forest. Follow a line of leafcutter ants, and you'll discover they travel on cleared trails, maintain highways that can stretch for hundreds of feet through the jungle. The ants remove debris, trim back encroaching vegetation, and keep these paths open for efficient transport of leaf fragments back to the nest. These highways are marvels of insect engineering, allowing the colony to move resources quickly and safely. They're also evidence of long-term planning. Trails are maintained over weeks and months, even years. The ants don't just react to their environment. They shape it, build into it, and create infrastructure that supports their society. In miniature, they're not unlike us, modifying the world to suit their needs. Some jungle frogs don't need standing water to breed. While most frogs lay eggs in ponds or streams, some jungle species have evolved alternatives. Foam nest frogs whip their eggs into a frothy mass attached to leaves overhanging water. When the tadpoles hatch, they drop into the stream below. Other species lay eggs in moist leaf litter, and the tadpoles develop entirely within the egg, emerging as tiny froglets. These adaptations free the frogs from dependence on permanent water, allowing them to breed in the driest parts of the jungle. It's another example of the rainforest's endless variation, life finding ways to reproduce in conditions that seem impossible. Where there's moisture and patience, there's a way. The jungle produces sounds humans can't hear. Walk through the rainforest and you're surrounded by sound. Bird calls, insect hums, rustling leaves. But much of the jungle's communication happens outside the range of human hearing. Elephants produce infrasound, frequencies too low for us to detect, that travel for miles through the forest. Bats and some insects use ultrasound, too high-pitched for human ears. The jungle is alive with conversations we can't access, signals passing through air and earth beyond our perception. It's humbling. We experience only a narrow slice of reality, a thin band in a spectrum far wider than we can know. The jungle speaks constantly, in languages we're only beginning to understand. Mangroves bridge jungle and ocean. Where rivers meet the sea, mangroves create a transitional world. neither fully terrestrial nor fully marine. Their roots arch above water like stilts, creating nurseries for fish and shelter for countless species. Mangroves are salt-tolerant, thriving in conditions that would kill most plants. They filter pollutants, protect coastlines from storms, and store massive amounts of carbon. Though often considered separate from rainforests, many mangrove ecosystems connect directly to jungle watersheds, the final link in a chain that begins in mountain headwaters and ends in coastal estuaries. They're proof that ecosystems don't exist in isolation. Everything connects. Rivers carry the jungle to the sea, and mangroves catch what flows down, holding it, using it, transforming it once more. The jungle has natural medicines. We're only beginning to discover traditional healers in jungle communities have used plants to treat illness for thousands of years. Western science has confirmed many of these remedies and developed others into modern drugs. Aspirin's precursor came from willow bark. Artemisinin, a crucial anti-malarial drug, comes from a plant used in traditional Chinese medicine that grows in jungle regions. But researchers estimate we've studied less than 1% of tropical plants for medicinal properties. Each species might hold compounds useful for treating diseases, easing pain, or fighting infections. As species disappear, so does this potential. The jungle isn't just a place of beauty and diversity. It's a pharmacy, a laboratory, a repository of solutions we haven't yet learned to ask for. Spiderwebs in the jungle can span rivers. In the morning mist, backlit by dawn, you might see something extraordinary. A spiderweb stretching across a river, anchored to trees on either bank. Some tropical spiders build webs that can span gaps of over 80 feet, using specialized silk that's both strong and elastic. The web acts as a net, catching insects that fly over the water. The spider must first get a line across the gap, usually by releasing a long strand of silk and letting the wind carry it until it catches on the far side. Then it reinforces the bridge, strand by strand, until the structure is strong enough to support the full web. It's engineering on a scale that seems impossible for such a small creature, yet it happens every day in the jungle's rivers and clearings. Some trees drop all their leaves at once to starve caterpillars. In a jungle where leaves are constantly under attack from herbivorous insects, some trees have evolved a dramatic defense. They drop all their leaves simultaneously. This mass leaf shedding can happen almost overnight, leaving the tree bare. Any caterpillars that were feeding on those leaves suddenly find themselves without food, forcing them to move or starve. The tree then rapidly produces a new flush of leaves, all at once, which mature quickly before the insect populations can rebuild. It's a reset button, a way to break the cycle of herbivory. The timing is often synchronized across multiple trees of the same species, making it even harder for insects to adapt. In the jungle, even plants can coordinate their defenses. River otters bring joy to the jungle. Along jungle rivers and streams, otters play. They slide down muddy banks, tumble over each other, and chase fish with obvious enthusiasm. Giant river otters, found in the Amazon, can grow over 5 feet long and hunt in coordinated family groups. They're vocal, social, and surprisingly fierce when defending their territory. Watching otters is like watching pure delight made physical. They seem to enjoy life in a way that's rare in the animal kingdom. where survival is usually serious business. But otters remind us that play isn't frivolous. It's practice, bonding, and skill building wrapped in joy. Even in the jungle's constant struggle, there's room for happiness. The jungle is quieter during midday heat. In the heaviest heat of midday, even the jungle slows. Bird calls diminish. Insects rest in shade. Mammals retreat to cool spots and wait. The forest enters a kind of siesta, conserving energy when conditions are harshest. This daily rhythm affects everything, from when flowers open to when predators hunt. It's a reminder that even in the tropics, life has its limits. Energy must be managed. Heat must be respected. The jungle knows when to push and when to rest, and the creatures within it have learned the same lesson. There's wisdom in knowing when to be still. Termite mounds can last for generations. Some termite mounds in the jungle are older than the trees surrounding them. They can persist for a century or more, outlasting multiple termite colonies. When one colony abandons a mound, another may move in, or other animals, snakes, lizards, mammals, take up residence in the vacant chambers. These structures become landmarks, navigational points for humans and animals alike. They're proof that even small creatures can create something lasting, something that endures beyond any individual's lifetime. The mound is the colony's legacy, built cell by cell, a cathedral raised by millions of blind architects. Some jungle flowers are pollinated by bats. As darkness falls, certain flowers open, releasing strong, musky scents. These are bat-pollinated flowers, and they're built differently from their day-blooming cousins. They're often pale or white, easier to see in low light. They hang away from branches, accessible to flying mammals, and they're sturdy, able to support the weight of a bat landing to drink nectar. Bats are efficient pollinators, covering large distances and visiting many flowers in a single night. Some plants depend entirely on them, having co-evolved with their nocturnal visitors over millions of years. When bats decline due to disease or habitat loss, these plants suffer too. Every relationship in the jungle is a thread, and pulling one can unravel others. The jungle's green is actually many greens. Look carefully at the jungle canopy, and you'll see it's not a uniform color. There are yellow greens, blue greens, deep emerald greens, and almost black greens. Young leaves are often lighter, older ones darker. Some leaves have waxy coatings that make them shine. Others are matte, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. This variation isn't just aesthetic. Different shades indicate different levels of chlorophyll, different adaptations to light and water, different strategies for capturing energy. The jungle's palette is a visual record of diversity, each shade of green representing a slightly different solution to the problem of photosynthesis. In that variation, there's beauty, but also strategy. Fungi can glow in the dark walk through certain jungles at night, and you might see a faint green glow emanating from rotting logs or forest floor debris. Bioluminescent fungi produce light through chemical reactions, creating an eerie, otherworldly illumination. The purpose isn't entirely clear. It may attract insects that spread the fungus's spores, or it may simply be a byproduct of the organism's metabolism. Whatever the reason, the effect is magical. In the darkness, these ghost lights mark the work of decomposition, life returning to the earth in visible form. The jungle glows from within, a reminder that even death and decay can be beautiful. The jungle is a greenhouse. The humidity in a rainforest can exceed 90%, making the air feel thick and heavy. This moisture comes from transpiration, rain interception, and limited air movement beneath the canopy. The effect is like being inside a greenhouse, warm, wet, and perfect for plant growth. But it also challenges animals. Staying cool requires adaptations like large ears for heat dissipation, nocturnal habits, or frequent bathing. The humidity preserves the jungle, but also shapes how life functions within it. Everything here is built for wet heat, and when conditions change, even slightly, the consequences ripple through the ecosystem. Jungle flowers can bloom at night for just a few hours. Some jungle orchids and night-blooming cereus flowers open after dark and close before dawn, blooming for only a few hours. In that brief window, they must attract pollinators, achieve fertilization, and begin seed development. The urgency is palpable. These plants have invested months or years in growth, all for one night's chance at reproduction. Miss that window, and the opportunity is gone for another year or longer. It's a high-risk strategy, but in the competitive jungle, specialization often pays off. By blooming when others don't, these plants reduce competition for pollinators. In the darkness, they have the stage to themselves. The jungle teaches patience. Nothing happens quickly in the rainforest, except when it does. Trees grow slowly, accumulating girth over decades. Seedlings wait years for a light gap. Animals move deliberately, conserving energy. But when opportunity comes, a falling tree, a sudden abundance of fruit, a vulnerable prey animal, action is immediate and decisive. The jungle teaches that patience and readiness aren't opposites. They're partners. You wait, watchful and prepared, and when the moment arrives, you move. This rhythm exists throughout the forest, in predator and prey, in plant and pollinator, in the daily cycle of light and dark. Patience, punctuated by action. Stillness, broken by motion. The jungle is not pristine wilderness. Many rainforests that appear untouched have been shaped by human hands for thousands of years. Indigenous peoples have lived in and managed these forests, planting useful species, clearing small areas, burning undergrowth, and creating patches of enriched soil. What we call wilderness is often a garden, tended subtly enough that outsiders don't notice the cultivation. This doesn't diminish the jungle. If anything, it deepens it. The forest isn't separate from humanity. It's been in conversation with us for millennia. We've shaped it, and it's shaped us. Recognizing this challenges the Western idea of pristine nature, but offers something richer. An understanding that humans can be part of ecosystems, not just destroyers of them. Rain can fall upward in the jungle. During intense storms, when rain hammers the canopy, water doesn't just trickle down. The impact of drops hitting leaves creates a fine mist that rises back up into the air, essentially causing rain to fall in both directions. This splashback adds moisture to the understory and canopy layers, keeping epiphytes hydrated and contributing to the forest's overall humidity. It's a small detail, easy to miss, but it illustrates how interconnected everything is. The rain falls, the forest catches it, transforms it, and sends them back. Nothing is wasted. Everything cycles. Some jungle ants farm aphids like livestock. Certain ant species have formed partnerships with aphids, small insects that feed on plant sap and excrete a sugary substance called honeydew. The ants protect the aphids from predators and even move them to fresh feeding sites. In return, the ants harvest the honeydew as food. It's remarkably similar to human-animal husbandry, protecting, relocating, and harvesting from another species. The ants don't just exploit the aphids. They've created a relationship that benefits both. It's farming, and it evolved millions of years before humans invented agriculture. The jungle is full of such precedents, behaviors we thought were uniquely human that turn out to be widespread in nature. The jungle canopy sways like an ocean. On windy days, the canopy moves in waves, rippling and swaying like water. Trees bend, branches flow, and leaves flutter in coordinated motion. From above, the effect is mesmerizing. A green sea, moving as one. Animals that live here are adapted to this motion, comfortable in an environment that's constantly shifting. This flexibility is strength. Rigid trees snap in storms. Flexible ones bend and survive. The jungle teaches adaptation, resilience, and the wisdom of yielding to forces too great to resist. Sometimes survival means moving with the wind, not against it. Jungle rivers create oxbow lakes. As rivers meander through flat jungle terrain, they curve and loop, forming exaggerated bends. Over time, erosion on the outside of curves and deposition on the inside causes the river to shift its path. Eventually, a meander can become so extreme that the river cuts through the narrow neck of land, bypassing the loop entirely. The abandoned curve becomes an oxbow lake, a crescent-shaped body of still water separated from the main river. These lakes become unique habitats, calm and rich in nutrients, often teeming with fish, amphibians, and aquatic plants. They're temporary on geological timescales, eventually filling with sediment, but while they exist, they add another layer to the jungle's aquatic diversity. Some jungle birds follow people through the forest. In certain regions, small birds called antbirds don't hunt for themselves. Instead, they follow hikers, pigs, or even indigenous hunters through the jungle, feeding on insects disturbed by the larger creature's passage. It's opportunistic feeding, and it works. The birds expend less energy than if they hunted alone, and they get access to prey they couldn't flush out themselves. These followers become companions, flitting alongside you as you walk. Their presence a reminder that in the jungle, every action creates opportunity for someone else. Nothing happens in isolation. Every movement ripples outward, and the forest is full of creatures waiting to take advantage. The jungle is a climate regulator for the entire planet. Through transpiration, the Amazon alone releases billions of gallons of water into the atmosphere every day. This moisture forms clouds that travel across continents, bringing rain to regions thousands of miles away. The jungle also stores enormous amounts of carbon, preventing it from entering the atmosphere as CO2. When forests are destroyed, this regulation breaks down. Carbon is released. Rain patterns shift. Temperatures rise. The jungle isn't just a local treasure. It's planetary infrastructure, quietly maintaining conditions that allow life to thrive across the globe. What happens in one forest affects weather, agriculture, and ecosystems everywhere. Some caterpillars march in lines like armies. Processionary caterpillars move head to tail in long lines, following silk trails laid by the leaders. These processions can stretch for meters, dozens, or even hundreds of caterpillars marching in formation. They move this way for safety, predators are less likely to attack a large, coordinated group. The caterpillars feed together and pupate together. Their synchronized lives a hedge against individual risk. It's collective behavior that looks almost choreographed, though it emerges from simple rules. Follow the caterpillar ahead, stay close, keep moving. From simplicity comes coordination. Another lesson the jungle offers freely. The jungle holds our origins. Our primate ancestors evolved in forests not unlike the jungles of today. The trees we find alien, they would have called home. The sounds that seemed strange to us were familiar to them. Walking through the jungle is, in a sense, a return, not to any specific place, but to the type of environment that shaped our species. We carry the jungle with us, in our hands adapted for grasping branches. Our binocular vision evolved for judging distances between limbs. Our social behaviors forged in arboreal communities. The jungle is not just where we visit. It's part of our history, written into our bodies and brains. The jungle will outlast us if we let it. Humans will not last forever. Civilizations rise and fall. Species go extinct. But ecosystems, if given the chance, persist. The jungle survived the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. It adapted to ice ages and warm periods. It will outlast us too, if we don't destroy it first. That's not a sad thought. It's a hopeful one. The jungle doesn't need us. It never did. But perhaps we need it, as a reminder of resilience, as a repository of life's possibilities, as a place that exists beyond our control and thrives in its own ancient rhythms. The best thing we can do is give it space, protect it, and let it be what it's always been, enduring, wild, and magnificently itself. And so we come to the end of our slow drift through the jungle, though the forest itself goes on, breathing, growing, living in ways we've only begun to glimpse. We've wandered together through facts and mysteries, through creatures that glow and trees that walk, through sounds too low to hear and partnerships too complex to easily untangle. The jungle is many things. It's fierce and gentle. It's ancient and constantly renewing. It's a place where death feeds life, where competition and cooperation intertwine, where beauty and danger exist side by side in the dappled light. If you take anything from tonight's journey, let it be this: the jungle is not separate from us. It produces oxygen we breathe, influences weather patterns we depend on, and holds knowledge we've barely begun to access. It's part of a living system that includes all of us, whether we walk beneath its canopy or live half a world away. But more than facts and connections, I hope you felt something. The quiet wonder of discovering that frogs carry their young up trees, the strange beauty of a snake that glides between branches, the patience of a tree waiting centuries for its moment in the sun. The jungle teaches us to look closer, to notice the hidden relationships, to appreciate the slow work of roots and fungi beneath our feet. It reminds us that we're part of something much larger, much older, and far more intricate than we usually remember. As you drift towards sleep tonight, imagine yourself back in that green cathedral. Feel the humid air on your skin. Hear the distant call of a howler monkey, the drip of water from leaf to leaf. Know that somewhere right now, all of this is happening. A jaguar moving through shadows, a butterfly drinking tears, a seedling pushing toward light. The jungle doesn't need you to understand it completely. It just needs you to care that it continues, that the green places remain, that the wild things have room to live their wild lives. Thank you for wandering with me tonight. Thank you for being curious, for listening, for caring about these strange and beautiful creatures and the forest they call home. If this gentle journey brought you peace or sparked something in you, consider sharing it with others who might need this kind of calm. Consider supporting organizations that protect these places. Consider remembering, even in your daily life far from the jungle, that we're all connected to these ancient systems. For now, rest easy. Let the sounds of the forest fade into your dreams. Let yourself be held by the knowledge that somewhere in the green breathing world, life continues in a million forms, patient and persistent and beautiful beyond measure. Sleep well. The jungle will be there tomorrow and the day after and all the days to come if we give it the chance. And maybe someday you'll find yourself standing beneath a canopy, feeling the weight of humidity in the air, hearing the chorus at dawn, and you'll remember this moment, this gentle drift through facts that became more than facts, that became a story about resilience, connection, and the quiet miracle of life. Sweet dreams, gentle traveler, until we wander together again.